I'm a 33-year-old man, and my wife is 30. We've been together for 11 years, and I thought everything was going well between us. However, recently things have been different. Let me give you some context. I work as a dispatcher for truckers, and it's a decent job. I have good benefits, and I make enough money for both of us to live comfortably. On the other hand, my wife used to have a job building gaming computers, but she lost it due to cutbacks. So I've been the sole breadwinner, and I've been working extra hours to make ends meet. One day, my car battery broke, and I had to ask my wife to give me a ride to work. When we arrived in the parking lot, I noticed my coworker, Andrew. I waved at him and he walked over to say hello. That's when I introduced him to my wife and she reached out to shake his hand. Andrew looked at me and said, "You never told me that your wife was so beautiful." She blushed, and I laughed without really thinking, saying how lucky I am to have her. Then we both went inside for work after I kissed my wife goodbye. A few days later, my car was fixed and running fine. So I've been going to work like usual. During lunch though, I couldn't help but notice my wife's car in the parking lot. I walked towards it and saw her and Andrew talking and eating lunch inside her car. I got upset, but I kept my cool and knocked on her window. She opened the door and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you that Andrew and I were having lunch together today." Then, Andrew chimed in saying, "I hope you're not angry." Oh, I took a deep breath and replied, "No." I turned around and walked back to my car. Because I knew that if I said anything else, it would start an argument. I could sense my wife getting frustrated because I walked away like that. Later that day, when I got home, she exploded, saying that I embarrassed her in front of Andrew. I responded, "Why do you even care, and when did you start hanging out with him?" She replied with, "I'm a grown woman and I don't have to tell you anything," and then walked away. Since then, she has been, and I've noticed she's been spending more time on her phone calling and texting her friends. Deep down, I suspect it's Andrew, but I don't want to accuse her and end up looking like an idiot if I'm wrong. But at the same time, I feel like I should say something. I just don't know what to do. I talked to my friend and he gave me an Apple AirTag. I'm planning to discreetly put it in my wife's car and track it to see if I can find any evidence. Just in case things go south, and we end up getting a divorce. Part of me doesn't want to do it because it hurts to think that our relationship is falling apart so easily considering everything we've been through. But I feel like I have to do it. I'll try to update again when I have the chance. Hey, everyone. It's been a while, but a lot has happened during that time, and I finally have a chance to fill you in. To gather some evidence, my friend lent me his AirTag. And I discreetly placed it in my wife's car and followed her. She had told me she was going to meet a friend, but I had my doubts. So I followed her in my friend's car to avoid being noticed. After about a 20-minute drive, she pulled up to a hotel. I won't lie. My stomach churned and my heart raced. I was desperately hoping that I was mistaken and she was meeting a friend. But, unfortunately, what I witnessed was Andrew waving at my wife, and then she ran and jumped into his arms, passionately kissing him. I was devastated and furious, filled with the desire to confront Andrew and demand my wife to leave the house and take her belongings. However, I refrained from acting on those impulses. Instead, I took out my phone and discreetly captured some pictures of them before driving away as I watched them enter the hotel. When I got home, I couldn't contain my emotions and broke down into tears, screaming and yelling. In my frustration, I even punched a hole in the wall. Overwhelmed, I called my friend who came over and saw the pictures. I started crying again and shouted, 11 years wasted. My friend comforted me with a hug and advised me to seek legal help while gathering more evidence against my wife. It felt challenging to maintain a facade of strength, but I assured my friend that I would try my best. In the weeks that followed, I continued to accumulate evidence and kept my distance. I witnessed them going to restaurants, movies, and hotels together. And each time it pained me, but I stayed strong and didn't confront her or question her claims of going out with friends or family. I thought I could keep up the charade for a few more days, especially since the lawyer I'm consulting assured me that I have plenty of evidence to ensure a favorable outcome in the divorce, but I think I messed up yesterday. It was my birthday, and I wasn't really feeling celebratory. My wife didn't even wish me a happy birthday, but her parents did. When I went to work, my coworkers surprised me with a cake and gifts. I tried to hold back my tears because for a moment, I forgot about everything until I saw Andrew. He gave me a gift and I forced to smile and thanked him. When I opened it, it was the Batman comic, and I was genuinely surprised because no one at work knew about my interest in comics, especially DC, which happens to be my favorite. When I mentioned this to Andrew, he said my wife had told him. That's when rage consumed me. The next thing I remember is my coworkers restraining me while Andrew stood in the corner holding his nose and shouting, "What the duck!" In the heat of the moment I screamed, "I know you've been sleeping with my wife." The room fell silent, and everyone turned their gaze to Andrew. He tried to explain, but I didn't care. All I wanted was to slap him until he couldn't move anymore, but then my boss walked in, saw the situation and sent Andrew home. He called me into his office, and I spilled everything, showing him some of the pictures as evidence. He apologized to me and gave me some time off to sort things out, assuring me that he would handle Andrew. Crap hit the fan when I got home and found my wife waiting for me. She exploded, blaming me for what happened to Andrew, and claiming she talked him out of pressing charges for the altercation. She kept yelling and yelling, saying Andrew makes me feel like a real woman, treats me right, and knows how to make me feel special. I couldn't take it anymore, and I snapped, yelling back, "I don't give a duck." She looked surprised and fell silent. I continued saying, "If he makes you feel so special, then go live with him and let him support you, because I'm done." And then she had the audacity to start crying and say she was sorry. She even tried to explain that Andrew caught her in a moment of weakness. I took a deep breath and firmly told her to get a lawyer because we're getting a divorce. She kept trying to apologize and said she couldn't afford a lawyer, insisting that we needed to work on our relationship. I just looked at her and told her to pack up her things. She continued crying and begging, but I grabbed her suitcase and called her sister to come pick her up. She locked herself in the bathroom, refusing to come out unless I was willing to work things out with her. I kept telling her that I didn't want to work anything out and that we needed space because being around her made me feel angry and hurt. Finally, she came out, apologized, and packed her stuff, waiting outside for her sister. Now I'm finally alone in the house. And I can't stop crying. I'm feeling so many emotions, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm planning to see my lawyer tomorrow. Update. I finally gathered the strength to update you all on what has transpired since my last post. It's been a challenging and emotional journey, but I'm slowly finding my footing. After my wife moved out and the divorce proceedings began, I focused on taking care of myself and rebuilding my life. In the midst of it all, I received some unexpected news at work. I was promoted to a higher position, which came with more responsibility and a raise. To my surprise, Andrew, the very same person who had betrayed me and caused so much pain, was now my subordinate. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but I saw it as an opportunity for some sweet revenge. I seized every chance to reprimand Andrew, making sure he felt the weight of his actions. I would make jokes at his expense, relishing in his discomfort. It may not have been the most mature way to handle the situation, but it brought me a sense of satisfaction to see him squirm. Andrew, understandably, grew increasingly frustrated with my behavior. He lashed out at me a few times, but I couldn't help but laugh at his anger. It was a small victory for me, knowing that I had the upper hand, and he was forced to endure the consequences of his actions. But the real turning point came when I discovered that Andrew had stolen food that was meant for everyone in the office. It was a blatant act of disrespect and entitlement. I couldn't let him get away with it. In a moment of boldness, I confronted him in front of the entire staff. I exposed his actions and fired him on the spot. The look of shock and humiliation on Andrew's face was priceless. It was a taste of karma that he had brought upon himself. The office erupted into a mix of shock, disbelief, and some even applauded my actions. It was a defining moment where I reclaimed my power and showed Andrew that his behavior would not be tolerated. As the divorce proceeding continued, I made sure to focus on my own well-being and happiness. I refused to let the past define me. The divorce was finalized, and while my ex-wife had moved on with her life, Andrew found himself unemployed and left to face the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, I thrived. My career flourished, and I dedicated myself to personal growth and pursuing my passions. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and family who helped me heal from the wounds of the past. It was a process, but gradually, I found myself living my best life. Looking back now, I realized that the revenge I saw was not just about hurting others, but about finding my own sense of closure and moving forward. It was about reclaiming my power and finding happiness despite the pain I had endured. Today, I can proudly say I have emerged from the storm stronger than ever. I have found love again with someone who cherishes and respects me. Together, we build a future filled with trust, laughter, and mutual support. As for my ex-wife and Andrew, they are mere footnotes in the story of my life. I've moved on, leaving them behind along with the pain and betrayal they brought into my life. They are no longer a source of anger or bitterness. Instead, they serve as reminders of the lessons I have learned and the resilience I have discovered within myself. Life has a way of teaching us valuable lessons, and through this journey, I have learned the importance of forgiveness, self-love, and the power of letting go. I am grateful for the challenges I have faced, as they have shaped me into the person I am today. My story is not one of revenge triumphing over others, but of personal growth in finding happiness after heartbreak. I have found peace within myself, and I'm excited to embrace the bright future that lies ahead. Second story. My ex-wife, who is now 37 years old, cheated on me 6 years ago with a married man. I found out about their 4-month affair when the man's wife sent me all the pictures and videos they had taken together, cheating on both of us with his phone. It was a shocking revelation for me. One of the things that really bothered me was that she did certain things with him that she refused to do with me, claiming they were disgusting and against her principles as a woman. She even told me her body, her rules. Before confronting her with the evidence I had, I gave her an opportunity to be honest with me, but instead, she gaslighted me and even swore on our daughter's life, denying everything. I told her that if she had any integrity or respect for me, she would tell me the truth right then and there. However, she insisted that I was crazy and making baseless accusations without any evidence, so I presented the undeniable facts to her. When faced with the evidence, she broke down and admitted that she was a piece of crap. She realized that her betrayal was extremely disrespectful and something I would never be able to forgive. Let's jump ahead 6 years. Just last month, my daughter asked if I would come to a dinner she was preparing for her baking cooking competition. I agreed, but there was a catch. My ex-wife, her mother, would be there too. My daughter knows the reason for our divorce and understands that I have no contact with her mother. Keep in mind, I haven't seen or spoken to my ex-wife in almost 6 years. At the dinner, some of my former in-laws and my ex-wife were present along with my sisters and me. My daughter's food was delicious and everything went smoothly. About a week after the dinner, I received a phone call from my ex-wife. I picked up because I thought something might be wrong with our daughter. Turns out there was nothing wrong with our daughter. But my ex-wife wanted to genuinely apologize for her past actions and the damage she caused to our family. She mentioned that our daughter was terrified of the idea asking me to be in the same place as her, and she believed our current dynamic was unhealthy. She wanted to know if there was any way for us to coexist in a healthy manner for future events involving our daughter. I listened to her without interrupting and let her say what she needed to say. Once she finished, I responded by simply saying no and ended the call. This is the situation where I could use some advice. My sister informed me that my ex-wife is genuinely ashamed and sorry for breaking up our family, and she just wants a healthy environment for our daughter. My sister suggests that I move on and consider our daughter's mental health. I reminded my sister that if I'm unhappy, what value do I bring to my daughter's life? My ex-wife doesn't make me happy, so I need unbiased opinions. Should I forgive my ex-wife and work towards building a better co-parenting relationship with her for the sake of our daughter? I had a conversation with my 15-year-old daughter yesterday, and what she shared with me really opened my eyes. She expressed that she knows I love her and would do anything for her, but she doesn't want to take advantage of my love by making me do things I wouldn't normally do. According to my daughter, her mom is struggling with feelings of sadness and often tells her that I will never move past hating her. This creates a difficult situation for everyone else, as they also judge her based on her past. It seems that my ex-wife vents her frustrations to our daughter because she doesn't have many friends to confide in. Background: my ex-wife has lost the majority of our childhood friends because she used girls' night as an opportunity to be with her affair partner, and some of the wives were aware of it and either knowingly or unknowingly covered for her. This caused a lot of drama among our friend group. There's a belief that some of the other wives may have been cheating too, but there's no concrete proof. Since our divorce, the other wives have basically excluded her from the group to protect their marriages. My daughter also shared with me that she misses us being together as a family if she's being honest, but she understands that her mother and I still love her. She then asked me about forgiveness and unforgiveness, the things that can't be forgiven. I explained to her that it ultimately depends on the standards you set for yourself. It's based on your own morality and values. I told her that sometimes you can dislike someone's actions without disliking the person themselves, but there are also times when it's hard to separate the actions from the person. I told my daughter that her mother's actions are something I can't separate from her as a person. It doesn't mean she's a bad mom, but it means that her actions have had a lasting impact on our relationship. I explained that just because someone says sorry, it doesn't automatically fix everything. Actions have consequences, and in her mother's case, her actions are a part of who she is. Then my daughter asks if I have ever forgiven someone who hurt me before, and I said yes. I've forgiven many people in my life. Forgiveness is an important quality to have. Overall, we had a really good conversation last night, and I assured her that her mom and I will always be there for her during significant milestones in her life. I will be discussing my ex-wife's comments to our daughter when I talk to her soon.